All right, everybody, welcome to the Locked On Avalanche podcast. On today's episode, we've been making our way around the unrestricted free agents. And even though the Avs are good with their starting goalie position, does the backup goalie position get addressed through free agency and the goalies? New episode of Locked On Avalanche coming at you.
Your Locked On Avalanche, your daily podcast on the Colorado Avalanche. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, everybody, welcome to a new episode of Locked On Avalanche. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I am your host, Chris Maselli. With me, as always, Mr. Shaggy Von Doom, Kyle Sullivan. And what is this new car smell, Mr. Shaggy Von Doom? What are these new walls we have here over on YouTube? Brand new graphics for you over on YouTube. So if you're watching in your car right now, don't just turn on YouTube. Please drive, get safe to wherever you're going. But if you feel like checking out these new graphics that we have, please do over on YouTube. And you can see off to the side of the screen, we'll have kind of a rundown on what we are going to be discussing on today's episode. And as you can see there, we will be discussing the unrestricted free agent goalies, which we've been kind of making our way through each position. Some burning questions, 5 burning questions for the Avalanche this offseason. We've talked about most of these, but now we're kind of going to put our stamp on it and kind of put our reputations on the line for some of these questions. And then we meant to talk yesterday about what Jamie Benn was thinking, and then the Dallas Stars fans at large. So kind of like getting into these conference finals that are going on as we speak. But first things first, thank you for making this your first listen of the day. That is always appreciated. And make sure to check us out on our social media outlets, LOPN_Avalanche on Twitter, Locked On Avalanche on Instagram. Questions, comments, concerns, and opinions, LockedOnAvalanche@gmail.com. And follow us on our YouTube channel where you can see these beautiful new graphics. Just search for Locked On Avalanche. Kyle loves it. He's voguing over there with these graphics. They're beautiful. They're beautiful.
I'm the man in the box.
All right, sir. So why don't we start with our goalie situation? And we've already given Alexander Georgiev his grade on the year. I think you give him an A or an A minus.
I want to say it was an A minus.
I gave him an A minus. I gave him an A plus. So when we're talking about these goalies, it is not for who needs to be the starter. He is entrenched in the starting position. But things are maybe getting interesting for the Avs in the backup role. Right now it is Pavel Francouz. But we all, we've talked about this before, that the Avalanche are kind of up against the cap. He's a $2 million cap hit. That could go far. So we're not going to talk about it if we feel like they would get rid of him. That's we'll get into that maybe a little bit later in the offseason. But is the possibility there that they do? Sure. If they do, who would be available for the Avalanche? So you can kind of look at the unrestricted free agents or in-house. So I'll turn it over to you, sir. What are you thinking here for the Avs?
Honestly, with that $2 million, yes, it's juicy. And again, I'm a big Pavel Francouz guy. I thought he should have been the starter last year. What a fool I am for saying that. You can't get a full season out of him, even if you put him in that starting role. And even as a backup, he's not there. So you had to kind of double work Georgiev. It wouldn't be a bad idea to see what you could get for Pavel Francouz, but honestly, you're very comfortable with the output that you're getting from Georgiev. It's what are you kicking the tires on in the backup role, because you're not looking to get a goalie for the first time in a long time for the Avalanche. This is a nice position to sit in.
It is.
So yeah, you're definitely looking at the backup. And when you're looking at the UFAs that are available, there's some backups out there, but it's big names. It's big names. So if you're getting rid of that $2 million contract with Frankie, you're going to be bringing on another beefy contract with some of these names out here.
And that's what this is about. It's about the dollars, right? Because he's Francouz is at $2 million. That's not bad for a backup. And when he's healthy, he's been pretty reliable. It's his unreliability is in the injuries, not what he's doing on the ice, right?
Exactly.
So if you're gonna get rid of him to free up that $2 million to go elsewhere for your team to have that go towards free agents and on forwards or even defensive depth, whatever the case may be. I guess the Avs could essentially, if they just feel like we can't keep doing this with Francouz and all the injuries, we'll trade him and do something and just roll his $2 million over to a free unrestricted free agent goalie. They could do that. They could essentially just say, like, we want somebody new in the backup role and just give that $2 million to a brand new goalie. Or they could use that $2 million, like I said, go towards some other position. And if you do that, sure, you could still bring in a backup goalie for a less number than $2 million, or you dip into, the Justus Annunen pool and let him be the backup, maybe a little bit earlier than expected. And when you have Georgiev, who played 62 games this year, which I remember doing his grade was tied for second. If you're going to do that again this year, which I don't think the Avalanche want to do because they don't like overworking their goalie. But if you are anticipating him playing the majority of the starts, which of course you would, and you just only need, your backup, but that is a risk. Throwing Justus Annunen in there and just saying, like, hey, you're our guy for the season. I don't know which way the Avs go here. I kind of feel like if they are going to get rid of Francouz, I feel like they bring in a veteran at a lesser number than $2 million.
You mean like Keith Kincaid?
Not like. Well, what? I mean,
because
it's not the worst idea, I guess. It's
yeah,
not.
I mean, he was brought in for a reason. It's not like we're giving him, we signed him to give him a jersey. He's there to play goalie. And if this is going to be another year of not just yet on Justus, let him marinate a little bit. Yeah. That's fine. Let him stay down in Loveland. Bring Keith Kincaid up. And guess what? If he performs or if he doesn't, if he wins games, great. That's better than expected. If he loses games, that's as expected. And then you move this piece a little bit later on down the line. Right. You're not hurting anything. He has to do something. He was brought in for a reason. He has to do something.
Well, he is an unrestricted free agent too, Keith Kincaid. So they have to go back and sign him, which, teams aren't falling over themselves to go get Keith Kincaid. No. And Annunen himself is a restricted free agent too. So, I mean, that deal should get done for him. But, I mean, for some free agents that you're looking at, we're not looking at the top of, the list here. You have, I mean, as far as the cap hit from last year, Jonathan Quick's at the top of that. Semyon Varlamov. Hey, you want to bring back a familiar face? Frederik Anderson, Jonathan Bernier, Cam Talbot, Tristan Jarry. Like, those are names you're not looking at.
No.
So which names are you, though? I mean, there's I'm just going off of who's lower on this list, right? Aiden Hill is a free agent, but he is playing himself an increased salary right now, the way he's playing for Vegas. Antti Ranta is a free agent. He made Pavel Francouz money last year. He made exactly $2 million. Do you roll that over to somebody like him? Martin Jones, Yaroslav Halak, Jonas Korpisalo, Thomas Grace, David Riddick. David Riddick is a free agent. And now we're getting into guys that you probably won't have any interest in.
And see,
those are your handful of guys, I feel.
Yeah, and once you get to those handful of guys, then you just turn back around. Like we're already talking like he's out the door, but then you look at Frankie and you're like, well, I think we'll be okay because you're not really having to play with the dollars. You're not having to make moves and then really hope that this pays off in the long run. And then you watch Frankie be a serviceable goalie somewhere else. So I would be fine with Frankie pulling back in goal or calling up Eustace. But I think this problem would be addressed in-house, and I wouldn't move too much.
Or the Avalanche have shown in the past they'll deal for goalies, backup goalies too. You know what I mean? Like, how many times did they bring back Jonas Johansson? Yeah, he's gone. But you've traded for him. You've made a lot of deals for goalies. Maybe they do that again and go find another team who wants to make a deal, bring in another guy to be a backup. That is always on the table too. We're focusing on the unrestricted free agents, but the Avs doing something like that to address the backup if they want to. We have to kind of like make that known here. Pavel Francouz is still a part of this team, and I think you're right. I think like in the grand scheme of it, I think he's going to stay there for this year. I think he just has that 1 year left on the contract. I just want to be sure on that. He does. So he's got 1 more year. Maybe they just let him ride it out. Play 1 more year, $2 million, not a horrible number, and see what we got. I do think that they will go that route, but when you do, because really you're not saving $2 million if you have to go trade him or give him up, and you go get a guy for $1 million, you've only saved $1 million. You know what I'm saying? So you're not, by trading him, you're not saving his full salary. You're only saving a portion of it.
Yeah.
So is it worth it in the grand scheme of things? If he can stay healthy, no, it's not.
Yeah.
We'll see where they go. All right, let's hear from Birddogs, and then we are going to get into some 5 burning questions for the Colorado Avalanche in this offseason. But Birddogs, Kyle and I have been talking about these ever since they sent them to us in the mail when we signed on with Birddogs to be an ad partner here. You can't go wrong with the people. I'm telling you, they are the most comfortable pants and shorts that you will ever wear. And we've said that, they come with a liner. It's almost like an extra cuddle in the shorts. Everything about them is just screams comfort, right?
They're maneuverable fabric. Like you can go anywhere, do anything in them and look good doing it.
If you're a golfer, you need to have a pair of Birddogs in your arsenal. You need the driver, the putter, and some Birddogs.
That's right.
And you're slaying Augusta. So the 3 things that you hear about with Birddog is the fit. The fit is perfect. The comfort cannot be understated, and they are versatile. We're saying you can wear them on the golf course. You can wear them on the back deck. Come over to my back deck that we're building. And they're, if you order right now at birddogs.com/LockedOnNHL, they're going to throw in a free custom Birddogs Yeti style tumbler. There it is. We all got the blue ones. I don't know if they come in different colors. If not, so what? That's a beautiful blue with the logo stamped on the bottom. Show them that too, Kyle. Impressed with that. Just used the promo code LockedOnNHL. You won't be disappointed, people. I promise you, in the quality of these shorts and pants and that Yeti style tumbler that comes your way. Just use the promo code LockedOnNHL. All right, so we are going to get to some burning questions here for the Colorado Avalanche, and these are some that we've talked about. I think all of these, but we kind of just throw them out just for discussion. And I feel like we've thought about them for long enough where now we're going to go on record. And I will put it out there right now. We'll probably be wrong on all 5 of these, but you never know. But that's part of the fun, is just staking your claim and saying, like, this is what I feel like the Avalanche are going to do when it comes to each one of these questions. So let's start right at the top, right with the captain. There you go. And if you're watching on YouTube, you can see the question: is Gabriel Landeskog's career over?
I say yes.
You heard me, right? Like you are going on record right now, sir.
It's
okay.
It's one of those things that you always hear when athletes talk about coming back from injury. the rehab and just the grind of getting back to playing shape is the worst part of it. And I don't know if Gabe Landeskog wants to do this. Has been 2 years of this. I don't know if he's going to be ready and wanting to go through another off season of having to get back to playing shape. I feel like he's done.
I feel like he wants to
Mhm.
go through that. And I feel like he wants to give this a try. And I said before, last time we talked about this, it just seems to me like this is a Terrell Davis type of thing. I don't think his career is over in that he will never play for the Colorado Avalanche again. I think he absolutely will. Now, the question is, what type of player is he going to be when he returns? And if he comes back and he's just not that, because he's an aggressive player, he mixes it up. He does his dirty work in the net front. If he can't do that anymore and he needs to kind of change his style of play, maybe he can do that for a couple of years. But the question is, like, does the knee linger enough for him to be like, I can't play this way. I can't keep doing it. So I don't think his career is over. Does it get cut short? Maybe. We've yet to see. But no, I don't think you've seen the last of Gabe Landeskog in an Avalanche uniform.
He can want to come back all he wants. He was supposed to come back 6 weeks into the season last year. The knee will speak louder, and I think that's what keeps him away.
Could be. I mean, you can't mess with any injury. Knee injuries are one of those that can just never go away. So we shall see. Question number 2. Our 2 big RFAs are Alex Newhook and Bo Byram, and this is something that we talked about before as well. What deals do they get? Bridge deals or long-term deals? Start with Alex Newhook. What do you think?
I would bridge Newhook.
I think this is a 100% bridge deal. I don't think there is any way with how he's produced. They are not locking him up long-term. He is going to get maybe like a 2-year deal. I think 3 is pushing it. And I think 1 is not. I think that's too much of like a slap in the face to him. I think a 2-year deal is a sweet spot to say, hey, you got 2 years to show us what you can do. But there is no way in hockey, HELL, that they are giving him a long-term deal. I think everybody is on board and understanding of that.
I say bridge him and deal him.
No, not yet.
I'm
not yet.
I'm at that point.
No. He's too young of a guy. I'm not there yet. He's still got some work to do, and we'll see what you can get out of him. Byram, on the other hand, is an interesting one.
Yes.
You could understand both sides. What do you think? A bridge or a long term for Bo Byram?
I say there are bigger names on defense who have deals that you have to address.
Mm-hmm.
Bridge Byram until you can pay Bo what he deserves.
This is a real tough one. It's really tough because you can make an argument for either way, and I'm gonna go off what the Avalanche have done in the recent past with another name of Cale Makar, and that was a question: do you bridge him or long term him? And they went long term with Cale Makar, and because of that, like what I would do is probably bridge him. But just the vibe I get from the Avalanche and how they want to lock up players that they know, I don't think it would be that smart to do it, because if you bridge him, he's going to outplay that contract. And then when you do have to sign him to that next contract, you're going to be ponying up. And I think because of that, the Avs want to do a long-term deal with him. And I think they do. I think they give him a max contract at a lower number, because if they know they do a 3-year deal for the low number, the next one is going to be much higher. So you get him for longer at a lower number, but then you run that risk when that contract's out. Now he's an unrestricted and it's fair game. But what you deal with that is what you're doing right now with guys you've done in the past. With Nathan McKinnon, you have the ability to extend them the year before. So that it's not like you're going to get into a bidding game unless you let it go that far. So I think they go long-term with Byram. Again, not what I would do, but I think they do. And knowing that, hey, that last year of his deal, we can deal with him before anybody else, and we won't let him get away.
I say, still with the injury concern, you want to bridge Byram because you don't want to commit to that. And
That's very real.
Yeah, you had the Frankie situation with Bowen Byram and the Landeskog situation. So
Yep.
I think they might bridge.
That is a good point. Is do they bridge him simply for the injury stuff? Hey, here's a bridge. Prove that you can stay healthy for this bridge deal, and then we'll talk after. Speaking of extensions, we'll get to one more before our next break. Devon Toews, does he get extended this offseason? Do they get a deal done? And other moves need to be made probably to be able to extend him, which his contract wouldn't kick in until after next year if they do extend him. But does just the deal? We don't have to get into the specifics of what they would need to move around and what the numbers would look like. We can talk about that later. Just yes or no, do they get an extension done this offseason for him like they did with Nathan MacKinnon last year?
I would assume so. After winning a cup with Colorado, you would think Toews would lean team friendly. But if he wants to look elsewhere, that's where things get a little questionable, but I believe they will get something done.
I agree. Like, yeah, if you want to be that guy that wants to go look, you've earned that. You've gotten to this point in your career where this is your contract that you can cash in on. He's going to cash in even if it's with the Avalanche. Might he have to, take a little bit of a wash, maybe $1 million or so here and there. Who knows what the number might be? But I think the Avalanche, they clearly know the importance he is to this team. And I think he knows, he's in a really good spot playing with the best defenseman in the league. You don't give that up. So I think they find a way to get it done. What the number is and stuff like that, I couldn't tell you right now, and who they need to move around if they do need to move around to get that done. Like I said, those are questions for another time. But I feel like both sides know the importance of him, and it gets done. So, all right, let's hear from eBay Motors, and then we get to our last two burning questions for the Colorado Avalanche. But for a championship team, it's all about making sure every player is a perfect fit. It's the same when it comes to your vehicle. Every part needs to fit just right. So the next time you need parts and accessories, head to eBay Motors. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, you can be sure every part you need fits right the first time around. Just add your car to the My Garage tab and look for the green check to know that the part will fit or your money back. Because just like in sports, confidence is the name of the game when you shop on eBay Motors. And with over 122 million parts to choose from, you'll be back in the game in no time. After all, it's easy to bring home a win when the right parts are guaranteed. Get the right parts, the right fit, and the right prices on ebaymotors.com. Let's ride. eBay Guaranteed Fit is only available to U.S. customers. Eligible items only, and exclusions apply. All right, two more questions to get to in our 5 burning questions. And please fire away in the comments section, especially on YouTube. What do you think? What's your response to these kind of questions Kyle and I are discussing right now? But question number 4, will the Avs address the 2C position? Will they do that through trade, through free agency? Or do they go for in-house version 2.0 for this next year?
Honestly, this is my opinion on how this gets addressed, and I think it's a little bit of all of it. I feel like it's not going to be an off-season move. They're going to kind of handle it in-house, like new hook. This is your 2C.
Really?
Like, go. This is it. Do or die time.
And they're going to imagine that.
They're going to write it they're going to write it to the trade deadline. You're going to look at training camp. You're going to look at filling out Eagles, because if you're making a move in the offseason, you're going to have to give up pieces as well, which the Avalanche still don't have. They don't have a team to start dealing players left and right. So you put this team together with either Eagles, or you just put this team together right to the trade deadline when teams are hungry and, hey, 1 for 1, we just need to offload this guy. We'll take half the contract. That's when the Avalanche start making moves, start moving things around. But you're gonna kind of handle this in-house with who they have till the trade deadline. That's when you address it.
So basically a carbon copy of last year.
Basically,
With the exception of addressing the 2C, which they didn't do last year. I don't know. I think it just did not go according to plan last year. That they see like they're not going to let this go another year. Like they tried it, and if they struck gold with Alex Newhook and he took that big leap, great. You look like a genius. That did not happen. And because it was such a struggle for him to really just take the reins of that 2C and run with it, I don't know if right now is the time that they give him another shot at it. That's why I don't feel like they trade him at this point in time, because in the back of their minds, they still feel like, hey, he's young. It could happen in the next 2 or 3 seasons. We still don't know. I think it was maybe a little bit of a pipe dream for him to take the reins of it. But the point you make about like they don't have a lot to get rid of, they don't in terms of like their prospect pool is wearing thin. They can't keep dealing these guys out. They need to start, they have a first round draft pick and then nothing for rounds 2, 3, and 4. Sure, it's nice to have a first round draft pick, but you need to start building that back up.
Yep.
However, if you're going to get a 2C, you're probably not going to be, unless they're your top prospects. You're not going to be giving those guys up. You're going to have to be giving current roster players up to go get a 2C. That's what players are going to want.
Which the Avs don't have. Like we talk every UFA that, hey, Eller's not coming back. No Erod. No, like they still don't have a lot of forwards and a couple defensemen. So
they have a Samuel Girard. They have a Samuel Girard. And that's where this is going. And everydayers know we are Sammy G supporters. We don't jump on the bandwagon of hating the guy. I think he has value to this team. I thought he played a good season, had some speed bumps in the road. But this is where the business side of things comes into play. I think Samuel Girard gets traded this offseason for this specific position. So that's where I am. Like I said, we're going on record for stuff like this. I think that happens this offseason. I think they find a way to extend Devon Taves. You have him still on your defense, and you have to get rid of something to go get the 2C position shored up, because they don't want to go through that again last year. I feel like the Avalanche feel like that was horrible for them to not have that Nazem Kadri type of guy that you don't have to worry about it. They had to worry about it every single game last year. Wasn't good.
Yeah, I feel like last year's roster construction was out of confidence. This year it's out of necessity. And I feel like they just need to ride it and try and stay above 500 till the trade deadline.
We'll see. We shall see. And the final question here, we're not going to get into predictions or anything like that right now. But can the Avalanche make the Stanley Cup Finals next season? And maybe that's a difficult question to answer right now because they have so many holes that they need to fill in terms of free agents and players coming and going. But when you have guys like Nathan McKinnon, Mikko Rantanen, Cale Makar, maybe Val Nichushkin, who knows, you're always going to be in the mix. You're always going to be in contention. Assuming that they make some good moves and having faith in the front office with Chris McFarland and Joe Sakic. When we do know what the final roster will be, we'll be able to answer this question again, but the way too early kind of prediction for it. Can they at least make the Stanley Cup Finals next season? What do you say to that?
If last season didn't happen, I would say yes. That when you're just relying on the core, apparently it's not good enough because we're talking off-season content right now. Right. So unless this team can step it up a little bit, I'm going to say no.
It's tough, man. It's not easy. Clearly, it is not easy to get there. And I think it's less about what do the Avalanche look like next year? And what do the teams around them? Because those teams are getting better too.
Yep.
Like while the Avalanche are trying to get better, the teams around them are just not sitting back and being like, oh, the Avalanche are the Avalanche and they have, all-world Nathan McKinnon and Cale Makar. They're going to be good. We'll just not compete, I guess. No. The other teams around them are getting better too. So it is a very difficult question to ask, but can they do it? I think sure. Is it a slam dunk? No. Definitely not. Like your confidence that they would do it last year when they did it was good. That you still had that second round thing that they couldn't crack, but you still felt like, man, they have all the pieces of a roster to go make a run, and they clearly did it. It's different now. But I just have faith in those, the core guys, and I have faith that, like I said, that Joe Sakic, Chris McFarland can make some smart moves. That puts them in the running. Again, not a home run by any stretch, but you get some things going your way. You go look at what Florida's doing right now.
Sure.
You know what I mean? And things go your way, and sure, you can make it back there. It will be a much tougher road, no doubt. All right, last thing we want to bring up, because we didn't get to this yesterday quickly, and you had the Dallas Stars and Vegas Golden Knights, and everydayers know that I cannot stand Vegas, so much so that I'm rooting for a division rival to take them out in the Dallas Stars. I would rather see the Dallas Stars in the final, the Stanley Cup final, than Vegas. But what happened in Dallas the other day has me like, my head is just all going crazy right now, because I don't know who to root for right now. And I think I'm just going to root for the East.
Yeah.
Because what Jamie Benn did to Mark Stone last night was kind of unforgivable, if you ask me. And I'm kind of glad we didn't talk about it yesterday, Kyle, because he came out with this. It's not even an apology. It's an excuse.
Yep.
And it's laughable to say, like, oh, the game happens fast. And I didn't, how did he say it? I'm sorry that my stick broke my fall on his head. I'm not saying verbatim, but I'm like, that was the best you could come up with. That's what you thought about all night long. And that was your comment. That was horrible what he did. He got 2 games. That's good, I guess. But that was disgusting. Absolutely disgusting.
And it hurts because, like, the Dallas Stars are one of the teams, like, in the 90s that I really fell in love with. Like the Sabres and Stars series. Like, those were some early memories of NHL hockey. And for not only the Jamie Benn incident, but how Dallas reacted with throwing things on the ice and delaying the game and that nature.
Yeah.
Nothing about it is good. Nothing looks good for hockey. And as somebody who was born in the South, it's not good for like Southern hockey.
Yeah.
So they try so hard to try and be a legitimate hockey hotbed, and you have moments like this, and then like the throwing of the catfish in Nashville, where it's 1 step forward, 2 steps back. Dallas, that's 2 steps back. Jamie Benn is 1 step, and throwing stuff on the ice is another. You got to respect the players. You got to respect the game and the sanctity. By throwing stuff on the ice it's not the way to do it. And Jamie Benn, you knew what you're doing. Your excuse is even worse.
Horrible.
It completely changes my opinion on that entire organization.
Yeah. And to go a step further, the Dallas Stars released a statement apologizing for what the fans did.
Yeah.
Not what Jamie Benn did.
I know.
They didn't, and that's your captain doing that. And that happened in the second minute of the game, third minute of the game, and he's out. And that's an all-important playoff game, and your captain goes and does that right off the bat. You have some anger issues, man.
Yep.
You have some anger issues that needs to be addressed. If you're going to go do that and then use the excuse that you came up with when you brought a composite stick down on the neck of a guy, figure it out, Jamie Benn, because there's no place in that. And what you said was very well said too. And for the fans of Dallas, and I know it wasn't all of them, there's 30,000 people in there, and a few hundred were doing it. Shame on you too. The only thing that should be thrown on the ice is hats.
That's right.
For a hat trick. Other than that, you're not a hockey fan. Get out. So, all right. And what's the as we're recording this, I know it was Florida and Carolina, and the Panthers won it. The Panthers are in the Stanley Cup final. There you go. Kyle is a happy man.
Let's
go. Sweep.
Let's
sweep.
go.
I that's shocking to me. Not shocking that they won it. I thought that was going to go 7 games. But man, Florida is playing some phenomenal hockey right now. So it's looking like Florida Vegas. And I'm sure we'll be talking about that next week. So for now, that's going to wrap it up for today, everybody. Thank you for tuning in, making it your first listen of the day. That's always appreciated. We'll be back tomorrow to wrap up the week. So for now, he is Mr. Shaggy Von Doom, Kyle Sullivan. I'm Chris Maselli. This is the Locked On Avalanche. Yeah, you got to get in there. Moving in closer. This is the Locked On Avalanche podcast. We'll see you guys later.